as we thought about our time together today and we reflected, we wanted this to be about all those who are investing in our young people, right? To celebrate all the good work that's happening, even in the midst of a pandemic, right? But there's still so many, those 1,000 points of light that you really talked about. And so at the partnership, we are continuing our commitment to the state's young people. We're continuing our commitment to the practitioners that work with our young people and the volunteers that work with them. And so this is all about you, those of you who are volunteering, and you take the time to listen to our youth. You take the time to stand by them in the midst of challenges, in the midst of their difficult times. You take the time to listen, genuinely listen to young people. And we're grateful and we're thankful for that. And it does make a difference. And even though a young person may not acknowledge it right then and there on day one, but day 30, they may remember that conversation that caring adult had with them. And they will appreciate that time that caring adult was able to set aside and take with them. So we thank you and we celebrate you. The other thing that the governor talked about was the impact that COVID is having not only on young people, but on us all. And so the partnership, we've been charged with supporting our practitioners to acknowledge where we are, right? And what's happening all around us. And acknowledge things that may be happening in terms of our mental health and mental health concerns for our young people as well. So our team is stepping by and standing by, not stepping by, but standing by practitioners daily. And that commitment is strong. And we thank those practitioners for being on the front line, those youth development workers, those phase leaders, those guidance counselors, those teachers. You all are on the front line. You all are investors in our young people. And what you sow into them, we will all be beneficiaries of that in the future, as they enter the future workforce. And as we continue to stand by you, we affirm you, adults. We affirm you for what you're doing. And we just want to remind you to continue to take care of yourselves. Give yourself that space in the midst of these challenges as we're working with our young people to take care of yourself.
Absolutely, Roland, you're so right. Because as we all know, when we get on a plane, they say, in the event of emergency, put your oxygen mask on yourself first. And we're here today because prevention is really all about us and what we do. And honestly, we've had this conversation a lot. Prevention really hasn't been more at the forefront of our collective mind than it has these last 22 months. Think about it. If you had told me in December of 2019 that everywhere I went over the next 2 years, I would be wearing a mask, I would be like, you're crazy. And now it's part of our everyday life. It's part of our mental checklist before we walk out the door. Do we have our masks? And honestly, we're also inspired by those around us who are wearing masks. And if we could turn the cameras around, we would show you our team here at the partnership that everyone is wearing masks and practicing social distancing and keeping safe. And so honestly, I feel a little embarrassed that we're sitting up here without our masks on, although we are staying safe and we've both been vaccinated and had our boosters. But you are inspired by those around you to do that and do that for others. And so we really hope that prevention can lend itself, the prevention of the threats that are facing our young people can lend itself in the same way that the prevention of and the commitment of COVID-19 have, and that we can all be working together on an everyday basis. It's
not about the big things, it's about the little things, as the governor said, that young people are looking for that connection, for that friend, for that safe place to have a conversation. And prevention is all about your actions. And so we really do believe that prevention of these risks can become a movement.
And that prevention, it truly does work. It's possible, and it's you.
And one thing I want to reflect on that our business co-chair, Lee Walton, highlighted for us was a work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of the things that we have been focusing on throughout this past year is making sure that our services are culturally responsive. All throughout the state, and that we are serving youth, particular special populations. Our co-chair talked about support for youth, LGBT youth, and how we are making sure that we are recruiting mentors with lived experience, mentors that are non-judgmental, Also, we are making sure that we are providing training for mentors and volunteers that are working and practitioners that are working with boys and young men of color. And so our commitment to culturally responsive services is strong for the partnership, and we will continue to build on that. As we have a diverse state, right? We have a diverse population in our state. One thing I want to highlight as a program, one of our program successes, when we started in 2021, we facilitated a statewide mentoring summit, which was attended by over 200 participants from the state and also nationwide. And our work with that conference, that summit, was to focus on the DEI work and being culturally responsive. And it really focused a lot on intersectionality. And so we will be pumping out tools and resources in the field for practitioners and for mentors to really connect with youth and to be non-judgmental and to be very supportive.
You're absolutely right, Roland. It reminds me of a story that I shared with our team a few different times. And it really struck me about being on the front lines of prevention and with the everyday things and not even realizing it. So I have 2 young children myself, and we have a team of babysitters who come and help us at different points. And I got a text from one of their dads one day saying, she appreciates your chats. And I said, I'm thinking to myself, the chats, like, I mean, we have time together in the car when I go and pick her up and when I drop her off after we come home. And, I had to really think about it. And this young person, she's incredible. She is wonderful with my children. And she's in it with them. She's playing. She's focused on them fully. She's not on the social media when she's with them, which I know we've talked a lot about social media. And she's just there. And she's really struggled though. Like she's gone through a lot of really tough experiences. She was bullied when she was younger, when she was in school. She came out a few years ago, and that presented a lot of challenges for her, that she had these people in her life who she was so close with who now didn't accept her necessarily for who she was and the things that she struggled with that. And so she was very open and willing to share, and I would ask questions of her and listen intently about things like what school was like with her being remote and not seeing her friends on a regular basis. I listened to her about her moon water and how she would charge her crystals with it, which I had to look up. And then we were able to have a follow-up conversation on that so I could learn more. And then she would talk to me about her girlfriend and the things that they were doing together. And, Roland, one day she said to me, she said she was afraid to come out to me as part of the LGBTQ plus community because she was afraid I wouldn't let her babysit my children anymore. And that, honestly, it just broke my heart. And it still does to this day that she would feel that way because that had happened to her in other places. So my commitment in having that conversation and those conversations with her is the same commitment that I have to my own children and you have to your children and your grandchild's, and that we have to all of the young people here in Connecticut to commit to create a safe and inclusive environment for them where they feel accepted for being who they are, where we meet them where we are, and we help them grow into thriving individuals later in life. And, her dad followed up with that text about her chats and said, "You're her mentor." And I was her mentor and I didn't even know. And honestly, how many of you sitting here today, I know it's all of you, could take a step back and think about those conversations, whether it's with a young person in your life, a younger colleague, a friend, about the difference you've made because of how you've accepted them in the moment. And where has that led them? That modest, small effort, how has that made a difference in their life? And for our young people, those conversations can become their inner voice, knowing they have someone there to help them make the right choices, to know that there's a safe place they can ask questions. And so that's really where the theme for today came from. Please, it's not from that event itself, but it's just about the everyday prevention. It's about what we can all do together to make a difference in the lives of young people. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be simple. You don't even realize that you're doing it. And that's where we're going to go back to prevention. It's not a product. It's just you. And our young people are struggling, as we know, through this pandemic. So it's important that we do that now with even more intentionality.
Kelly, thank you for sharing. Kelly and I want to thank our staff. We have the best team on the planet.
It's so true.
at the partnership. And we so appreciate their commitment and everything they do. And we know that they have made the commitment because they've articulated to us many, many times that they will be there for you, for your company, for your school, for your community. We are there at the ready to do all that we can to make sure that our young people are protected.
And that's our commitment in 2022 to further that opportunity to be involved. We are going to be at your door. You're going to be hearing from us more. We're starting a blog together. We're going to be doing different things to make sure that we can engage you and your team members and your communities in the way that's most meaningful. Lee pointed out that we're nimble as an organization, and certainly you were all nimble today to make this very last minute change to join us from 8:30 to 9:30 instead of 8 to 9. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, and we want you to be a part of this movement with us. It takes a community to create a safe and inclusive environment for our young people, and we want you to be there, and we know that we can do it together.